He's a tough street-fighting lawyer with the highest ratings for honesty and integrity. He's here to answer your legal questions and get you the help you need. You're listening to The Legal Lowdown with your lawyer, Joe Ingram of Joe Ingram Law. Joe Ingram has more than 20 years' experience fighting for his clients here in the state of Alabama. Joe's focus is criminal defense and family law. You don't have to face your legal issue alone. You've got Joe Ingram on your side. In case of sensitive legal matters, you can always reach out directly to Joe at joeingramlaw.com and arrange for a private consultation. And now, Alabama's defender of the defenseless, protector of the people, and all-around good guy, Joe Ingram.
All right. You're listening to Legal Lowdown with Joe Ingram, your Alabama lawyer, on WERC 105.5 in Birmingham, WBHP 102.5 in Huntsville, and W105.9 up in Tuscaloosa, WRTR. You can always check out my podcast on Apple, Spotify, and even my YouTube channel, joeingramlaw.com. Remember, if you have a case, better call Joe. If you have a case, better call Joe. All right, I want to stop just a second. The emails, the phone calls, and the messages last week from the show were so overwhelming, so encouraging, and so heartfelt. Because you let me know that you knew that I had been just away for a week and that you enjoyed our content. So it really warmed my heart. It made my day. And I reached out to all of you. Megan, John, all of you that I personally spoke to. Thank you. It really made my day. I made a decision this summer that I was going to work on the content that I've been working on for a while. And I thought, I'm going to use the show as a test tube. And it resonated with so many of you. So what that tells me is that those of you that listen to this show and this broadcast, you want to be extraordinary as well. So again, thank you. It really, really made my week. It really did. It warmed my heart. Okay. So we're going to continue on some stuff this summer, and we've got some good guests coming. Next week, we're going to have the mayor of Hoover. The week after that, we're going to have the mayor of Homewood. And then the week after that, we're going to have Amy Akins in the studio, who is now running for the new 7th Congressional District position that after they did the redistricting of the lines, she's going to be here. So we've got good guests booked for the next 3 weeks for the show. And so today we're going to talk about some divorce stuff the first hour, and I've got some really good jokes for you. These are not my jokes. These are just jokes that I've heard, and I thought they'd be really funny to talk about today. Then we're going to do some national and state legal news and some politics, and that should pretty much get us where we want to be. So as we continue, we want to remind you that we are so proud of our sponsors for our show. Flat Fee Real Estate of Birmingham is a full-service real estate brokerage that can significantly reduce the amount you pay to sell your home. There are no high commission fees here. Their brokerage was established right here in Birmingham over 10 years ago, and they remain locally owned and operated. Here you will find agents that have over 50 years of combined experience and excellent performance at what they do. Whether listing or buying with them, they're with you every step of the way, so you will feel confident you've made the right decision when it comes to selling your home. Call Flat Fee Real Estate of Birmingham. They're the best home brokerage company in Alabama. Also, we're brought to you by Shelby Fence Company. Shelby Fence Company, of over 30 years of expert fence installation and repair across the greater Birmingham metro area. You can call them at 664-1551, 205-664-1551, or you can check them out, ShelbyFenceCompany.com. And if you watch our podcast during the commercial breaks, you will see dedicated commercials for both Flat Fee Real Estate of Birmingham and ShelbyFenceCompany.com during the commercial breaks. Okay. So today, let's get to our stuff. As always, my office represents people from Huntsville, Birmingham, Montgomery, Mobile, and the Tuscaloosa area. If you need representation, call my office, 205-825-5297, 205-825-5297. You can talk with the intake specialist. They will get you in. Or you can Google us, joeingramlaw.com. Joeingramlaw.com is all you need to know for legal representation in the state of Alabama. All right, so we're going to continue some self-growth stuff this morning. And I get to represent so many people all over the state. And all of my divorce clients have unique experiences. But if you're in my office for a divorce, there are some things that are rather common from my side of the table. Rarely have I seen anything out of the ordinary. Divorce has common elements in them. Either the people have grown apart, they're not compatible, they have money issues, there's infidelity, drugs, alcohol, domestic violence, gambling, addiction. These are the running themes. Rarely does someone come in my office in a divorce case that says anything to halfway shock my conscience. And I know, I get it. It's hard for you to come in somebody's office and unload all of your personal baggage to a total stranger that you don't know and wonder, is this person going to judge me for me telling my side of the story? No, they don't. But I'll tell you what I did do. I'll tell you what I do to disarm my potential clients. I always try to tell at least a joke or two, even in the most serious matters, because it relaxes you as a person, that you know that you're in a safe place. And this is where you get to tell your story about what's going on in your house. For all of us out there that are trying to be the best every day of what we can be, I was reading some content this week. And it's a book called Be Champion Minded. Everyone wants to be great until it's time to do the greatness requires. It's easy. Being a champion. Everyone wants to be great until it's time to do what greatness requires. It is said that there are no shortcuts to success. Quote, winning is a matter of developing the slight edge. Champion-minded athletes put in extra work just as it takes to take time to develop the winning edge. The consequences of cutting. There are no consequences of cutting corners, which will gradually lead you further and further ahead. I think about Kobe Bryant. I think about Michael Jordan. I think about Pete Rose, Tiger Woods. All of these were champions that put in extra hard work when everybody else called it a day. There's no reason that Michael Jordan was better than others, other than the fact that he spent more time practicing than anybody else. It is said that Kobe Bryant used to get up at 4 a.m. He'd go to the gym. I think in some days he would shoot 20,000 basketball shots. And if you do that repetitively over a year, your percentage is only going to go up. And then if you take into account your diet, your exercise, your mental game, Tiger Woods, he changed the game of golf when he came along. because not only was he great at golf, he was the first real golfer to get into, if you will, exercising, weightlifting, and they had to start what they called tiger-proofing courses because they knew he was going to win the Masters every year. He could hit the ball harder and longer and farther than anybody else. So they changed the Masters golf tournament just because of Tiger Woods. And so, in our own individual lives, these people in our lives, whatever your passion is, whatever your sport is, whatever your profession is, if you want to be the champion, if you want to be the best, you got to do the hard work when nobody else is working. Don't go brag about it. Just go do it. Show up and beat them in the ring. The results will speak for themselves over time. Being a champion requires accountability, take responsibility, being coachable, being able to listen, accept feedback, being competitive, loving the challenge, embracing the hard stuff, consistent, having daily habits and behaviors. I've said it before and I'm going to say it again. Discipline and motivation, discipline and consistency beats motivation every single time. It will. You have to be determined and prepared to go the extra mile. You have to have really good self-control. You don't have days of, well, I don't want to go do that run, but I'm going to go do it anyway. I want to skip the gym. You go do it anyway. You have to be driven each day that you wake up and desire to be a better person than the day before. Champions are optimistic in their outcome, and they are completely organized in their structure and their daily routine. A champion mindset is not about being gifted or talented. It's about being prepared, focused, disciplined, and having the deep, unshakable belief in yourself. The reality is some days you will feel great, and then there's going to be days that you feel terrible. But you are inspired. And someday you can't even find the motivation to get out of the bed. But here's what really matters. You have a vision, you have a belief in yourself because there's no limit to what you can achieve. Being a champion is all about that. Remember last week when we talked about hard choices? Hard work is a choice. Your attitude is a choice. Discipline is a choice. Doing extra is a choice. Excellence is a choice. So now that you are aware of how to be great and you have to be disciplined, there are 6 levels to a stronger mindset. This is some information I've been working on and reading. It's called Born to be a Millionaire. Born to be a Millionaire. Daily information that I get in my inbox. First, self-awareness. You have to have understanding your habits are your triggers and your weaknesses is the foundation of your discipline. 2, commitment to actions. Discipline starts with small, consistent steps, whether it is waking up early, reading daily, small habits compounded over time. Again, I have said and said again. Discipline and consistency beats motivation every single time. Third, mastering. Delayed gratification. You have to be really willing to resist short-term temptations for long-term goals. This is where you separate yourself from average people. You're not going to see results today, but they're going to pay off over time. Emotional control. Discipline isn't just about action. It's about managing emotions, learning to stay calm under pressure, builds unshakable strength. Next, unbreakable. Consistency showing up even when you don't feel like it is the true mark of discipline. I've said it before and I'm going to say it again. Consistency beats motivation every time. And last but not least, discipline as your identity. At the level of the highest, discipline becomes who you are, not just what you do. I'm going to say it again. At the highest level, once you reach it, discipline becomes your identity, not just what you do. It is who you are. It's what you say you do. It's your mindset. Your mindset, it shifts from I have to go do this to I am this person and this is what I get to do and these are my non-negotiables and they are part of my identity. Being disciplined in your life requires being mentally strong. Now, you may not think you have all of these at this very moment in time, but you're working on them daily. Every day you're working on a different part of this. So am I. And you do this in different ways. And here's how. You have to make a decision whether to cut people off without warning because they're not good in your personal life. You can forgive people, but you don't reconnect. You don't post your next move. Don't tell people what you're going to go do. Just go do it. Go show them. Let them see the results when you're finished. You're okay walking away. You say no without guilt. Sometimes you have to say no and be disciplined when somebody says, hey, do you want to go to a bar Friday night and have a drink? And you have to say, no, I can't because I got to get up early in the morning and go run 10 miles or go to the gym or go do whatever it is you need to do to be successful. And you learn to keep your peace over proving. You adjust, but you never shrink. Hey, don't overreact anymore. You heal privately and alone. And you no longer fear silence. Have you ever noticed that some people can't stand to be in a house or a room without noise in the back? Sometimes I like to just sit in my house in silence and listen to my thoughts. Those are the most rewarding moments I have in my home. Isn't that amazing? Just silence. Put this phone down, just thinking. Okay. So that's a lot of information we've covered really fast. My point is in all this, becoming the best version of yourself requires a lot of individual skills. And when I work with divorce clients, and I had 2 new clients this week, rarely does someone leave my office or rarely does someone leave my office after a case where I have not recommended some kind of book or material to help them grow and develop into the next journey or chapter of their life. I'm not a social worker. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a psychiatrist. I've just seen enough of the same issues that I want you to be better 12 months from now after this is over. I've said it before. You're in the eye of the storm, but the storm's going to pass, and after the storm passes, you want to be better when you heal. You have to learn to put your baggage down that you've been carrying. You have to learn down, if you will, to come down off the cross if you've held yourself guilty. Forgive yourself and move forward. That is the goal. And hopefully in some small way, this show and this broadcast is about you becoming the best version of yourself, whether it's after a divorce, after a criminal case, or that job that you hate working 9 to 5 and you decide to go open a business and start whatever it is you want to do in your life and in your journey. Man, that's good information. All right, we're 20 minutes in, and the next subject I want to talk about, I'm going to tease this up. All right, I got some really good jokes about marriage we're going to cover in the second half of the first hour. I didn't write any of these jokes. I was just on Instagram this past week looking at some content, and it came up in my algorithm feed, some marriage jokes. And I thought, we talk a lot about the bad part about marriage. I want to talk about some of the funny things about marriage. And for the women out there, you're fixing to be really happy because most of the jokes are about men, okay? So I have some really good jokes for the second part of the first hour. I also want to talk about, there is a book. It's called The Untethered Soul. It was written by Michael Singer. Now, this book was written, I think, in 2010 or 11. Michael Singer was on the Oprah show in 2012. That's how great a book this book is, called The Untethered Soul. We're going to talk about this book in the next segment. Now, folks, I want to tell you something. This is not an easy read book. It's a short book, but about the first 6 chapters are really hard because it talks a lot about your psyche analysis. It talks about all the issues of Freud, of the id, of your ego, your superego, and learning to step back and look at yourself from afar in a room and not reacting. Just bear with me, okay? I'm going to break this down. But for those of you that really want to grow, and I have lots of clients and they say, Joe, I know I need mental health treatment. I know I need mental health counseling, and I really can't afford the co-pays, and I don't have it under my coverage. If you go read this book is probably the equivalence of a year or two of mental health counseling. Honest to goodness, it is. Sometimes I will go back and read a chapter or two out of this book every year just to stay up current on some information that I work on with my clients. So if you stick around for the second hour, for the second segment of the first hour, and we talk about this book, The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. This book, honest to goodness, will blow you away. And this book came to me by my mother. My mother said, Joe, you need to get this book and read it. And she was right. So it's really good information. Okay, so we're going to go to break here in a few minutes. We always thank our sponsors, Flat Fee Real Estate of Birmingham, Flat Fee Real Estate of Birmingham, and Shelby Fence Company. Shelby Fence Company, over 30 years of building fences here in the greater Birmingham metro area. They do great work. They'll take care of you. They built a fence for me. They were great. I want to mention again, next week we're going to have the Mayor of Hoover. Then the week after that, we're going to have the Mayor of Homewood. And then 3 weeks from now, we're going to have Amy Akins in the studio. She is running for the 7th Congressional District seat in Alabama. That's part of the new lines that were drawn, if you will. She's running against Terry Sewell. She's going to be in the studio, and she is a fabulous, fabulous candidate. You're going to enjoy that interview. So we've got some good interviews coming up in the next couple of weeks. You don't want to miss those. We're about to go to news and weather. Come back. We have some good marriage jokes. We're going to talk about some good stuff. We'll be back after the break.
You're listening to The Legal Lowdown with your lawyer, Joe Ingram. If you need confidential legal help off air, reach out to Joe at joeingramlaw.com. Stay tuned for more. Joe will be right back after this break for news and weather.
You know, here on the Legal Lowdown, we talk a lot about protecting what's yours. So let me tell you about the folks I trust to do exactly that around your home. Shelby Fence Company. For over 30 years, this is the name the Birmingham metro area has trusted for fence installation and repair, done right the first time. They do wood, aluminum, chain link, even agricultural fencing, both residential or commercial. They design it to fit your property. They build it with quality materials to stand up to Alabama weather, and they show you when they show up on time. They even remove and replace. Their crews are professional. The workmanship speaks for itself. So whether you're putting up a brand new fence or fixing the one that you've got, call the team I trust, Shelby Fence Company, at 205-664-1551, or you can find them at shelbyfencecompany.com. Tell them Joe sent you.
You're listening to The Legal Lowdown with Joe Ingram. Joe is a 20-year veteran of the Alabama courts specializing in criminal defense and family law. If you need a private legal consultation, email Joe at joeingramlaw.com. And now, welcome back to The Legal Lowdown with Joe Ingram.
All right. You're back for the second segment of the Legal Lowdown with Joe Ingram, your Alabama lawyer here in Birmingham, WBHP up in Huntsville, and WRTR in Tuscaloosa. Right before we went to the break, I teased up a book that we're going to talk about in the second segment called The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. And yes, this is a really good book because it was on the Oprah show. That tells you a lot. And if you're driving a car, I don't want to put you to sleep, okay? So just make sure you have your coffee before we talk about this, because this stuff may sound a little wonky, but honest to goodness, if you go read this book, you'll be glad that you got the information here this morning, okay? So if you read this book, the big takeaway themes from the book. Number one, who you are, who you think you are. You are not yourself. The concept, the structure of your thoughts and your emotions and the beliefs in your mind, it makes you really look at yourself. Number two, who you are, you have to awaken the nature of yourself. This is a tough read. But if you read this, man, this is going to come out, you're going to be stronger than you've ever been. 3, control. Recreate the world within your mind so you can control it and live in your mind. I'm going to say that one again. Recreate the world within your mind so you can try to control it and live in your mind. Just bear with me, folks. You guys, you have to be really in the know to listen to this. 4, your mind and suffering. Stop expecting your mind to fix everything that's wrong inside of you. Your mind cannot fix everything. Some of us just learning to be active and proactive and make changes. 5, witnessing. Your mind, only the real solution to take the seat of the witness and the conscious and completely change your frame of reference. You have to stand back and look at yourself from a distance. 6, consciousness and awareness, the root of yourself, taking the seat of consciousness and your consciousness, being who is aware of all inner and outer things. Now, I know some of y'all are thinking, I've lost my mind, but I'm telling you, this is a really good book to read. 7, inner energy, the flow of spiritual energy from the depth of your being. And I'm talking about what we call your chi and your spirit. And this has nothing to do with religion. It's talking about learning to stay open. If you remain open in enough ways, of uplifting energy will fill your heart, and your heart will never close. So many people that come in your life to you and they say, do you want to go have lunch? And you say, no, I'm too busy. I can't go have lunch with you. If you keep saying no to everything, eventually you're going to be closed off from the world. And people will quit asking you if you say no long enough. Learning to say yes. The more you say yes in your life, it will improve your life. Just like that movie. Give me just a second. Do you remember that movie that came out, I don't know, mid 2015? It was called Saying Yes. And it was about the guy that had ended a relationship, Jim Carrey. And so he read this book, and it was about saying yes to everything. And so he agreed to do it. He went to this seminar and he said yes to everything, whether it was skydiving, learning languages, going on dates, whatever. The more you say yes, the more that you open yourself up to possibilities, the more opportunities you're going to have in life. If you say no and close yourself off from people, opportunities, whatever it may be, eventually people will quit asking you. So you have to stay open. It's a really good movie with Jim Carrey. All right. So you have to remain open. And I have to do that well because I'm introverted. Next, heart. The natural state of a healthy heart allows energy to flow through your inspiration for love and unending openness, liberation. Commit to the inner work and free yourself by finding yourself when you find out who you are and you come to terms with it. It's very liberating. And then what comes next is learning to let go. And a deep release is a spiritual path of itself. Constantly learning to let go and permanently find peace and joy. Happiness. Some of us are carrying baggage from our childhood, and we've never learned to put the bricks down, come off the cross, if you will. It's very liberating. And next is called centeredness. Persistently centered consciousness is the seat of the witness, the seat of the self. You learn to be centered and watch yourself from a distance. What I mean by that is, once you learn to deal with yourself, to learn to deal with your emotions, learn that everybody in life has their own baggage, their own problems. You're not that important in the big scheme of life. Now, we're all important. All I'm telling you is, if you go out and you get on a bus today, everybody on that bus is thinking about their own problems, not about you. They may look at you. They're not thinking about you. If you learn to sit back and watch yourself from a distance and just watch people, you'll be more centered and grounded in your daily life. Just trust me on this. Okay. Unconditional happiness. If you decide that you're going to be happy, you will not only be happy, you will become enlightened. I'm going to say that one again. If you decide that you're going to be happy, you will not only be happy, you will become enlightened spiritual. Spiritual growth, the path of using life to evolve spiritually. Truly love the highest path. The older you get, by and large, you see that you have less days in front of you than you do behind you. And you start realizing that in the circle of life, you become more spiritual as you get older. And you realize that this is just part of God's plan. We were born, we live, we die. But if you're a true believer, you know that you'll live again and again, forever and ever and always. The word beyond captures the true meaning of spirituality. You have to free your soul from its cage. Next, life itself is the highest spiritual path itself. If you know how to live daily, life becomes a liberating experience. It takes most people to get into their 40s or their 50s to start really enjoying life. I'm going to tell you something. Every day I get up, I am so happy. I am so full of life. I say, thank you, God, that I'm here. I have a better life today than I did 10 years ago. Honest to goodness, my life is better today now than it was 10 years ago. You're so happy. You're so grateful. Learning to be grounded. Learning to be thankful for everything that you have. Thankful that I have a job. Thankful that I have a home. Thankful that I have a roof. Thankful that I have a car. Thankful that I have children. Thankful that I have a family. Everything that you have is a gift from God. It is. We live in the greatest society in the world, and we live in the greatest time to be on this planet. People that are born today are probably going to learn to live to be 120 or 130 years old. It's given because we have so much advantages now. So, out of this book, you learn to be grounded. You learn to transcend. You also learn that the personal and naturally awakened to the higher aspects of your being. We are all here for a purpose. God has a plan for every person on this earth. You have a journey, whether you know it or not, and it was pre-planned before you were ever born or conceived. Now, we all make personal choices, good and bad. And as my mother used to tell me, God love her so, she'd say, Joe, the choices you make today can and will affect the rest of your life. Thank you, Mom. The choices we all make today can and will affect the very rest of our life. So learn to be joyful. Thank you, God, for everything you've done for me. Thank you for everything that I have. Not trying to get too spiritual, but the highest part of learning and growing is learning that this is just part of life circle before you die. And so we got to get to the final end of this. Last but not least is called death. The best teacher of life is death. What gives life meaning is the willingness to live it. If you are living fully, death does not take anything from you, folks. Do not fear death, because two things are certain in life: taxes and death. You may skirt your tax issues, but you're not going to beat death. Now, there are some really rich folks out there that are trying to freeze their bodies to make it another 100 years and come back and all that crazy nonsense. But in my life, I'm not ready to go yet, but I do know when my time comes, I know where I'm going, and I'll be ready to go. If you know where you're going, there's nothing to fear. Amen? All right. Okay, so let's talk about some national news. We got to mention Senator Lindsey Graham. He passed away last Saturday night. It was a shock when I woke up Sunday morning. And the big takeaway for Lindsey Graham is so many people talked about how funny he was in meetings and how social he was in Congress and in meetings. And when he met with world leaders, he always tried to tell a joke, even in the heatest conversations. And that's the same thing I do with my clients. He learned how to lighten the mood. Maybe just learning to lower your blood pressure when I meet with you about your issue. Just learning to take the edge off. And I know when I talk to my clients about serious divorce issues, I get it, or criminal issues. It's scary. But if I can just bring your blood pressure down 10 points, then we've come a long way. And so I didn't know that much about Lindsey Graham, other than I thought he was a really good senator. So, in keeping with that, I've got some good jokes. First joke is, if you're ready for this, ladies, you're going to love this. People think marriage is all about intimacy all the time with your spouse. After 10 years of marriage, that changes to excite a woman. Instead of dinner and a movie and flowers. You know what turns a woman on after 10 years? You say things like, honey, would you like some new hardwood floors in the house? Would you like that new granite kitchen countertop? Or in the bathroom? Or how about some new chandeliers in the foyer? Oh, and by the way, absolutely, I was going to build that pool in the backyard. Forgive me for thinking that. That's what it takes to excite women after 10 years of marriage. It's not all about passion and romance. Being married is kind of like, now, guys, this is men speaking about marriage. Being married is like being in an AA meeting for Alcoholics Anonymous. How's your marriage going? One day at a time. How do you say anything wrong today? I haven't said anything wrong today, but I don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. Hi, my name is Joe. I'm a married man. It's been 6 months since my last decision. I felt the urge to have an opinion the other day, but I knew better. So I just shut up and did what I was told to do by my wife. Being married is like being in AA for alcoholics. Here's a good one. Why do men expect their wives to cook their meals? And the wife goes, oh, why? And the husband says, because it's the law. And the wife says, it's the law. And the husband says, yeah. The law says that prisoners get fed 3 meals a day. Maybe your marriage is like being in prison. Anyway, I thought those were kind of cute. Here's one for men talking about marriage. For men going through a divorce, these are some words of wisdom. And I've had a lot of female clients, and next week we'll do some of those jokes as well. For men, the game ends when the king falls, not when a pawn takes your queen. I'm going to read that one again. When the king falls, not one, a pawn takes your queen. She laughed. She cheated. Maybe she found somebody better. Let her go. A queen's betrayal might hurt, but it doesn't end because you are the king. And a man never forgets that the king runs the castle, not the queen, not the pawns. A king without a queen is still a king. A queen without a king is just a queen. So, if the queen wants to leave, let her leave. It's okay. You're not going to collapse. Your mission and your mindset, your money, your masculine, you are the king. Your kingdom because you took the peace off the board. Remember, the throne is not lost to betrayal or heartbreak. It's lost because you protect the kingdom. So go build the kingdom. Let them all throw the stones at you. And remember what I've told you before. Someday you get to throw all the stones back at them at one time. So men, you're the king of your castle. If your wife betrays you and leaves you, it's okay. There's going to be a better day. Let her go. And I've also told you this before, and I'm going to say this again. Just because your wife cheated is not necessarily the reason to end a marriage. It doesn't have to be. You can overcome it if the two of you can do it together. You two have to make that decision together. Just because your wife cheats does not mean that the marriage has to end. The two of you decide if you can overcome that barrier. Or maybe it's another barrier. Maybe it's one of you has an alcohol addiction. Maybe it's one of you has a drug addiction. Maybe one of you has a gambling addiction. Whatever the symptoms of the marriage is, maybe one of you has an anger management problem, needs to get some counseling. You have to decide to overcome it together and to be a team for a marriage. Remember how much I've talked about this. A marriage is a team of two people working together to be better. All right, national legal news. So this last week, we finally ended the Charlie Kirk preliminary hearing. This thing keeps getting crazier. Now the judge has asked for written briefs from the state and the defense counsel. He's put them on a scheduling deadline, and then they're going to have arguments, I think, in September. Are you kidding me, for a preliminary hearing? This is insane. I have never seen anything like this in my life. This is crazy. The more I hear about this case, I really believe the judge is just enjoying being in the limelight. I don't think he has any clue what he's doing about criminal law. I have never in my life, after 24 years, heard of a briefing schedule to decide if we're going to indict somebody or send it to the grand jury. Craziest case in the world I've ever seen. This is crazy. After Lindsey Graham died this week, they did some really good things. They put his sister in his place as a placeholder for the next 6 months. I thought that was a really nice gesture. And some information came out about Lindsey Graham this week. And let me tell you a little about Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham and Senator John McCain of Arizona, who has died, and he was in the military, he was a war prisoner, and Joe Lieberman, who was a Democrat of Connecticut. These three were what were referred to as the three amigos. And they would go all over the world, and they went on a lot of trips together, and they worked on military issues with countries and things of that nature. They were the best of friends, even though Lindsey and John McCain were Republicans and Joe Lieberman was a Democrat. However, at the end, he ended up becoming an independent, and he was very moderate. He was a very moderate man, Joe Lieberman. But what is really unique about Lindsey Graham that came out this week? They say that when he died, that he had roughly somewhere between 1.4 million to 2.2 million after being in Congress for 30 years. Now, I want you to think about something for a minute. Do you know how many people go to Washington, D.C., and after 20 or 30 years end up with multi-millions of dollars? Nancy Pelosi, Mitch McConnell. Look, I can name people on both sides of the aisle. They say Marjorie Taylor Greene, after 5 years of being in the House, has a net worth of $25 million. How'd you get that? What's her name? The Somalia lady up in Minnesota. I can't think of it right now. Thank you. John's paying attention. Supposedly she's got unbelievable money. All right. The point of this is, as involved as Lindsey Graham was in hotbed issues and going to countries all over the world and hearing information about defense contracts and who was going to get this and who was going to get that, if that doesn't tell you Lindsey Graham was doing it the right way, nothing does. He never used his position to profit from it. He was a true public servant. He wasn't there to enrich himself. After 30 years of being in Congress, he was in the House of Representatives, and then he was in the Senate for over 20 years. He never profited off of his position. He was always the public servant. That says a lot to me about Lindsey Graham, if anything does. That's what's really important about Lindsey Graham and the takeaway, and the fact that he was really funny. All right, so we got through the Untethered Soul. We did a couple jokes. We're going to come back, second hour. We're going to have some good stuff. We'll talk to you on the other side of the break.
You're listening to The Legal Lowdown with your lawyer, Joe Ingram. If you need confidential legal help off air, reach out to Joe at joeingramlaw.com. Stay tuned for more. Joe will be right back after this break for news and weather.
Flat Fee Real Estate of Birmingham. What sets us apart from other real estate brokerages? Flat Fee Real Estate of Birmingham is a full-service real estate brokerage that can significantly reduce the amount you pay to sell your home. There are no high commission fees here. Our brokerage was established right here in Birmingham over 10 years ago, and they remain locally owned and operated. Here you will find agents with over 50 years of combined service and experience, and with excellent performance, whether listing or buying with us. We are there with you every step of the way, so you feel confident you've made the right decision when it comes to your home. Give us a call today, Flat Fee Real Estate of Birmingham.
You're listening to The Legal Lowdown with Joe Ingram. Joe is a 20-year veteran of the Alabama courts specializing in criminal defense and family law. If you need a private legal consultation, email Joe at joeingramlaw.com. And now, welcome back to The Legal Lowdown with Joe Ingram.
All right. You're listening to Legal Lowdown with Joe Ingram, your Alabama lawyer on WERC 105.5 in Birmingham, WBHP up in Huntsville, and WRTR in Tuscaloosa. You're back for the second hour of the show. All right, we got through the first hour, and just to remind you, Flat Fee Real Estate of Birmingham is a sponsor of our show, and Shelby Fence Company. Shelby Fence Company, over 30 years of the greater Birmingham area. If you need a fence, whether residential or commercial, Shelby Fence Company is the name to know. Google shelbyfencecompany.com. Okay, before we went to break, we were talking about Senator Lindsey Graham. We were talking about how funny he was. He was a brilliant statesman, and he knew how to work with people on both sides of the aisle. The only thing I want to remind you and the takeaway from Lindsey is that Lindsey was smart. He was a good public servant. He wasn't there to enrich himself. And he knew how to tell a joke in really hot moments just to break the ice. And believe it or not, folks, I do that a lot in my interviews with my clients. I even do that sometimes in breaks and depositions. Even as nasty as a divorce deposition can be, I will joke with the other side during the break just to lighten the mood. It's just a job. It's not business. I mean, it's just business. It's not personal. Don't take yourself so serious. Just lighten up, Francis. Sometimes you just got to lighten the mood. It'll lower your blood pressure 10 points. It also helps humanize your opponent and people. Okay. We have to talk about, I hate to do it again, but there's been so much in the news in the last week. We have to talk about this again on our broadcast. Comrade, idiot, mayor of New York. The Democratic Socialist Party has come out and they have put out their true agenda this week. They're not even hiding it anymore. This is what the socialists of America want. You ready for this? This is crazy. They want to do away with the United States Senate. They want to do away with the Supreme Court. They want to get rid of police. They want to get rid of the President of the United States. There was somebody they interviewed this group this week, and somebody said, I don't know, we'll call him the head honcho or something like that. Are you kidding me? The leader of the free world, we're going to do with the presidency? And then somebody else was interviewed this week, and they said, well, we need to have a system like England, where the members of parliament elect a prime minister. No, we did not fight England for our independence and King George III only to go back 250 years later to some sort of parliamentary system. And not only that, they don't want to even have a two-house system. In England, they have the House of Commons and the House of Lords. Now, the people are elected to the House of Commons. The House of Lords are chosen by the ultra old blood, if you will, from the king for the House of Lords. So they want to get rid of the Senate. I hadn't even heard of Democratic senators coming out this week saying, no, we don't want to do this. Oh, and by the way, how well do you think the prime minister is working out for England? Do you know how many prime ministers they've had in the last 5 years? It's a lot. And there's no stability if you do away with our government. Some of these folks want to go to Sharia law. Sharia law is taking over England. The Muslims are taking over England. It's scary if you go read the news. That is what's coming to America. I'm not kidding you. It's here. And if your blood is not boiling about socialism, I don't know what gets you. I heard it said the other day. Somebody said socialism is either people that are idiots or people that are evil. To me, whether you fall into either class, either an idiot or evil, you're just stupid and you don't need to be in this country. Oh, and just for the record, if you come here from a foreign country, you do not need to be serving in the House of Representatives or the United States Senate if you will not take an oath to this country to follow our laws, to assimilate, and stand behind the American flag. I am sick of these people coming here from foreign countries. Omar is who I was thinking of before the break, from Minnesota. That's the best person you can put up to be in the House of Representatives? Are you kidding me? These people want to destroy America from within. And if we allow this to happen, it's going to happen. There's a guy up in Minnesota, up in Michigan. His name is El Said, I think, claims to be a doctor. Supposedly, he's going to win that Michigan House race. I think there's roughly somewhere between 12 and 20 seats that socialists are going to pick off in November in the election. Are you kidding me? We're going to put 20 socialists in D.C. in our government? They're going to destroy us from within. Why are the leaders of the Democratic Party not standing up and saying, no, we're not socialist. We are capitalist? I'm going to say it again. Do you know anybody that ever said, I want to come to America because of communism and it does so well there? No. You come to America to be free for capitalism because we have the greatest system under the earth. It's driving me insane. And it seriously, seriously concerns me that these people are going to be elected to Congress and they don't have the best intentions for our own government. They're going to take an oath and they don't even want to follow the oath. They want to do away with the presidency. They want to do away with the Senate. They want to get rid of the Supreme Court. They don't want police. If you don't have police, you're going to have anarchy in the street. It's a scary time. These people come out and they say what they're for. And all of us on the right, the ones that are the true believers, we're out there saying no. Where is all the Americans saying no? We are not socialist. Get out of here. Anyway. Okay. Social Security. We've been talking about this. It's going to run dry in 2032. Social Security will be depleted by 2032. President Trump this week came out and announced that he would like to use the Australia system, if you will, to replace Social Security for younger employees. And so then you have to go find out, well, what is the Australia system for Social Security? Social Security is broken. And Trump thinks he's found a fix. He told reporters this last week that he was looking at the Australia system. And so the issue becomes, well, what is the Australia system? I want to remind you, we've had Social Security in our country since 1935. President Trump did one good thing in the last year. He came up with the, if you will, the Trump accounts for babies that are born, that $1,000 gets put into their account when they're born. The Australia system, if you will, is built in such a way that your employer takes 12% of your pay and puts it into an account. And then that account follows you even if you change jobs every 3, 4, 5 years, all your life. The money follows you. Your employer has a duty to put 12% of your pay into this account. Now, Social Security, when it was set up, had the best intentions. And here's why. At that time, a lot of people stayed at one job for 30 years. Most employers used to offer a pension. You would collect Social Security. You would work for 30 or 40 years. You retired. You would start claiming it. And then people would die off by the time they were 65 or 70. Those days are gone. Now people are retiring and living 20, 30 years into retirement. And a lot of people don't have the retirement for 20 or 30 years. It's just not there. In fact, roughly Um, Less than 3% of people are really prepared for their retirement. And so President Trump, trying to be smart and do the right thing, he's looking at the Australia system because we have so many people that are freelancers, people that are contractors, people that are Uber drivers, people that are not disciplined enough to save on their own for their retirement. So we have to do it for them. That's what concerns me, is why people can't be disciplined to do the hard work themselves. And here's the problem for me. If we adopt the Australia version of a Social Security system or individual retirement account system, if you work for me, that means I have to raise your pay. And you're going to say, why? Well, I got to put 12% of your pay in an account, so that's going to lower what you bring home. So the employer is going to have to pay you more so that you bring home the same amount of money, if you will. I'm not sure that this is the right answer. However, I do think that's heading in the right direction. Social Security is not working, and no one wants to touch it, and no one wants to fix it. So maybe this is a good way to start. And in fact, they started doing this to teachers about 30, 35 years ago. You didn't really have to put money in as a teacher. You got a retirement for being in the RSA, Retirement System of Alabama. Now it's mandatory that you have to put a percentage in. I think it's like 3 or 4% into the RSA. So there is a reason to the madness of why you do it. I'm just not sure that as an employer, this is going to work for employees, because if you take the first 12% of what they make and you put it away for them, that's going to change how much they bring home every week or every month. However, we do have to figure out a way for people to pay for themselves. We cannot take care of people from the cradle to the grave. It's just not going to work. So that is Trump's version of how to handle dealing with the Social Security problem. And I like it better than the model that we talked about last week, where they just keep taxing the rich to death to pay for everybody else. I like that better than what was offered last week. I think it's going to come down to a combination of both. People are going to have to just automatically contribute to an account that follows them their entire life. And unfortunately, as always, the rich are going to get taxed more to pay into a government program. It happens all the time. I don't know why. They always look for the rich to solve the answers of the world. Okay. So we talked about Social Security. The next thing we're going to talk about today is, give me just 1 second, folks. We're going to talk about, got ahead of myself. Give me just a second. Okay, state legal news. This is really good. And it's because we have Senator Katie Britt and we have Senator Tuberville in Washington, and President Trump loves them. There has been a story about the new I-10 toll plan for Mobile. And it's been presented a couple times. 2019, there was a lot of blowback because you were going to have to start paying tolls. And people didn't want to pay the tolls to build the new bridge and the infrastructure to support the construction. And that back then they were talking about paying $6 each time or $90 a month for a pass, for unlimited pass for the new I-10 bridge. And, it got a lot of blowback. Nobody wanted to do it. Well, it looks like it's going to happen this time. Kay Ivey declared it dead in 19. The new toll bridge is going to cost roughly $3 billion to build. It's going to be 215 feet tall. It's going to be a cable type bridge over the Mobile River interchange. And it's only going to cost $3 for a one-time pass, or you can buy a monthly pass if you use it to go back and forth across the Mobile Bay for $60 a month for unlimited trips. It's no different than parking lots and parking bridges. You have to pay for them. Government can't pay for everything. The feedback from everybody this time is much more positive, and I'm thinking it's very likely that it's going to be funded. There was a quote this week from a state senator. I think the fear of the tolls has been diminished, said Senator Greg Albatron of Atmore, who was involved in the 2019 toll controversy. They need it for Baldwin and Mobile County. So I think this time they have figured out a way to solve this issue. You're going to have a toll to pay for the building of the bridge. It's not going to pay for itself. And they really need it down there for the infrastructure. They need it for the traffic. It's a necessity. So this is going to happen, and I hope it does. And Trump is very much heavily invested in Alabama right now. Whether it's the FBI buildings up in Huntsville, whether it's the bridges down in Mobile, he's really even pushing the data centers for Alabama for revenue and money. So President Trump, for all intents purposes, has a real incentive of Alabama because he made his first appearance here on the national stage when he decided to run for president. He loves Alabama. He loves Katie Brett. He loves Tommy Tuberville. So I believe this federal project for the new bridge over the Eastern Shore is likely to happen. So I think this time it's going to make it through for the funding, and I think they're going to approve it. There's still some critics about the tolls, but I'm sorry, folks, you're going to have to pay to ride on the bridge. There are places I go in Florida. I just know when I get there, I got to pay the toll to ride on the bridge. Now, if I live there every month, I'd buy a monthly pass. So that's just the fact of doing business. You have to pay for it over time. All right, so we covered that. Next thing we're going to talk about today, if you will, get ahead of myself today. The next thing we're going to talk about today, again and again, keeps coming back, it's been in the news again this week. Hang on just a second. Is the issue of data centers. Data centers. This has become my new favorite subject Why, I don't know. And somebody sent me some messages on Facebook this week talking about data centers. Now, first, let me say something. I am not against data centers. I don't know much about data centers other than I know we need them. And I know that we are in a race with China to develop data centers. So for those reasons, yes, I want them. And yes, they are a necessary evil. Okay? Let me just start there. However, the concern that I have are the questions that are being asked about how we build these data centers. Okay. So there was a story this week again about a data center coming to Jefferson County. Another one has been proposed for the Fairfield area, and one just got proposed for Bessemer last week. There are not a lot of people that live in the Fairfield community. It's a suburb of Birmingham. It has roughly 9,500 people. And so a big-time company has come forward, and what they do is they throw a lot of revenue at you, and they ask for breaks for building it, if you will, and incentives for putting it in your community. And the thing about data centers is that they take an awful lot of power, they take an awful lot of water, and they don't employ a lot of people. Council member Courtney Turner put on the Fairfield City Facebook page this week, the other day, a quote: "Our responsibility is to ask difficult questions. They have to consider the facts, consider the benefits, the potential impacts. We have to listen to our residents, and ultimately we have to make decisions that are in the best interest for people in Fairfield," end of quote. The problem is municipalities that need income, they have space, and they're going to take the data centers, folks. I'm not against data centers. I don't want to lose to China in any way. I'm just going to ask some really, really good questions. Like, why don't we take spaces that we already have and repurpose them and then make them data centers? All right, the music's playing. We're going to go to news and weather. We'll come back for the final segment of the show. We'll be back after news and weather. Thank you.
You're listening to The Legal Lowdown with your lawyer, Joe Ingram. If you need confidential legal help off air, reach out to Joe at joeingramlaw.com. Stay tuned for more. Joe will be right back after this break for news and weather.
You know, here on The Legal Lowdown, we talk a lot about protecting what's yours. So let me tell you about the folks I trust to do exactly that around your home. Shelby Fence Company. For over 30 years, this is the name the Birmingham metro area has trusted for fence installation and repair, done right the first time. They do wood, aluminum, chain link, even agricultural fencing, both residential or commercial. They design it to fit your property. They build it with quality materials to stand up to Alabama weather, and they show you when they show up on time. They even remove and replace. Their crews are professional. The workmanship speaks for itself. So whether you're putting up a brand new fence or fixing the one that you've got, call the team I trust, Shelby Fence Company, at 205-664-1551, or you can find them at shelbyfencecompany.com. Tell them Joe sent you.
You're listening to The Legal Lowdown with Joe Ingram. Joe is a 20-year veteran of the Alabama courts specializing in criminal defense and family law. If you need a private legal consultation, email Joe at joeingramlaw.com. And now, welcome back to The Legal Lowdown with Joe Ingram.
All right. You're back with Joe Ingram, your Alabama lawyer, on WERC 105.5 in Birmingham, WBHP up in Huntsville, and WRTR in Tuscaloosa. Happy morning. Thank you for listening to this show. Final segment. If you listen to the show today, first hour we talked about some information for your mental health if you can't afford to go to a psychologist, sociologist, social worker to work on yourself. We talked about some national news. We talked about some state legal news. We did some marriage jokes, and I'll have some more marriage jokes next week for the females, for the men. Divorce gets a lot of knocks a lot of time. Well, we're going to tell some jokes about marriages. I think it's very healthy. Just want to remind you, next week we're going to have the Mayor Hoover. He's going to be in the studio with us. And then the next week after that, we're going to have the Mayor Homewood. It's going to be in the studio. And then the third week, we're going to have Amy Akins, who is running for the 7th Congressional District House seat for the lines that were redrawn. If she'll be running against Terry Sewell in November. You don't want to miss that interview. She's a sharp person. Those are going to be great interviews, and you don't want to miss any of those, okay? All right, so before we went to break, we were talking a little bit about data centers. Data centers. I'm not against data centers because we need them. My concern is where we build them and what are they going to do to the environment and to our country. And I'm not on the left here, folks, okay? I just have some very serious questions. Some of the questions I have are, we have lots of space that was commercial at one time, and it's sitting empty. It's just there. Why cannot we, what's the word? I have trouble with words sometimes. Why can't we just change the, what's the word I'm looking for? Gosh. Help me, John. What's the word I'm looking for? Just not rezoning, just not tear down the building, just restructure the building. Renovate. I have trouble with words sometimes when I'm thinking. I'm tired at the end of the week. John's so brilliant. Why can't we just renovate the structure that is already sitting there? I'm thinking of several buildings right now in Hoover and on Highway 280 that are massive structures that were big box commercial stores. Why can't we just renovate those buildings, put whatever stuff you need to put in there, and you don't have to go build nothing? It's already there. I'm really asking some good questions. Why do we have to buy 79 acres and flatten the land and then put up a new building and then all this new power and all this fiber optics and stuff to build up a data center? I don't have all the answers. I'm just asking the questions because I really care. And here's why. When we started using computers, we started out with floppy disk, and we went from floppy disk to CDs, and then we went from CDs to thumb drives, and now we've gone from thumb drives to everybody putting it on a cloud, whether it's Dropbox link or Google Drive or whatever source it is that you transfer your data from one place to another. So you have to believe that these data centers that they're building with these huge swaths of land and the structures, you have to believe and know that in 5 or 10 years, well, we don't need that big a building anymore because we can put more data in a smaller facility, or we can package it in a different way, or hey, we put it, on this satellite dish up in the universe. We're building something, and we know that whatever we're building is going to change the way it's going to be used in 5 or 10 years down the road. That is my concern and the questions I have about data centers. Now, these companies that are building the data centers, they have the best interest in mind, but they're doing it because they're doing it to make a profit. They're not building data centers for the benefit of the community. They're doing it to make money. They are. Oracle is a big one for the data centers. And, they have lots of money. They can go throw it at communities that are don't have a lot of revenue streams. And they say, hey, we're going to give you this money, but we need all your land. Oh, and by the way, we need some tax incentives and tax breaks because we need lots of power. Oh, and by the way, we need a lot of commercial water to cool the data center. Oh, and by the way, we only need probably 12 employees to run the data center. That's all we're going to employ is 12 people. That's the concerns that I have. Then again, the number of people to do any job is changing anyway because of AI. I'm not saying AI is going to replace people altogether. In fact, Jeff Bezos has stated on the record that just because we have AI, we're still going to need people hand in hand to work with AI. Okay? So AI is not going to eliminate people entirely. It's just going to change the way we work and the way we do things. That's all it is. There was a report this last week that over in Iran, the government has built a ship, if you will, that has a drone in it, and they can remotely drive this ship in and drop a bomb. There's no one on board. It looks like a ship. For all intents and purposes, it is a ship. It's just a drone with a bomb in it. Somebody from D.C., somebody from some other part of the world is driving it remotely and delivering the goods to Iran. It's great that we have the technology. We still have to have people over the technology, okay? So it's still going to work hand in hand. So that is my concern about the data centers and where we're going with this. It's not just in Alabama, it's in every state. There was a huge contract that was just announced this week out in Texas. Chevron bought this huge parcel of land to build a massive data center in Texas. So they're everywhere. It's not just here. I just wonder if we have the right people asking the right questions. I hope that we do. I know we have a lot of smart people out there that know the questions to ask and the concerns about these data centers over the long term. That's my concern. If you care about the planet, and those on the left are absolutely concerned about the planet, and those on the right should be concerned about how is this going to change in 10 or 20 years? How are we going to repackage it? And what are we going to do with it? That's the kind of questions you have to ask when you put up this new type of technology. Oh, my goodness. Okay. There were a couple stories this week in the news about the economy, and we get to talk about the economy a little bit. The number of debt collection cases from 2019 has gone up 140%. Can you believe that? Debt collection cases have gone up 140% since 2019. This is a study that was done by the Pew Charitable Trust. So you can trust the numbers here. And the reason why this story is important is for a couple of reasons. Interest rates are really high right now. Mortgage rates are roughly 6.5. I would imagine credit card rates are probably somewhere between 18 and 22%. The middle class is being squeezed. I had somebody in my office the other day, honest to goodness, they had just bought a new car. The car payment is $1,200 a month. Now I want that to sink in for a minute. Somebody just bought a car. The car was roughly $70,000. The car payment is $1,200 a month. That's as much as a mortgage. And you're riding around in it. And here's the sad part. A car depreciates every time you drive it. It does not go up in value. You're driving an asset that depreciates every time you crank it for $1,200 a month. Oh my goodness. Anyway, that one caught my attention this week. A $1,200 car payment that depreciates every time you ride around it. Do you know why rich people don't buy new cars? They let people buy cars, and they buy cars 2 or 3 years old that's already taken the depreciation, and then they buy the car, and they pay cash. And not only do they buy the car and they drive them till the wheels fall off. My car has 67,000 miles on it, and I intend to drive my car hopefully to 300,000 miles because it's a depreciating asset. It has no value to me. It's just a chunk of metal I ride around in. So debt collection lawsuits have gone up exponentially over the last 5 or 6 years. And then again, I thought, well, maybe this story's true because in my own practice, we picked up a new client over about 8 months ago. It's a dental collection practice. And honest to goodness, we've already collected over $100,000 for them in 8 months. And when I got this client, I thought, how could you have this much in receivables? But they did. So a lot of people out there in middle America are struggling to get by. They're not able to keep up, and they're putting everything on credit, and they're putting everything on time, and then they're falling behind. And they're just paying the very minimum, and they're just paying debt. And there was another story this week about Alabama not being one of the cheapest places to buy a house anymore. Alabama used to be one of the cheapest. We're not. Right now, to buy into a house in the Birmingham market, over the mountain, roughly the median average price for home is $400,000. If you want to buy into the market and you want to put 20% down so that you don't have to pay PMI, mortgage insurance, that means you got to roughly put $80,000 down to buy a house. Now, there's a couple ways around that. If you are a doctor or if you're a lawyer, you can still get a professional loan. And they let you do this and you don't have to pay PMI. It's not fair, but they do it. So the buy-in in Birmingham for a house over the mountain is $400K. The cheapest place in the United States to buy a house right now, the cheapest state, is Iowa. The median price for a home in Iowa is roughly $230,000. We were there, but we're not anymore. Now, it's not a bad thing either. Here's why. If the prices of homes go up, then generally speaking, the people that buy those homes if you pay $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 for a house, you're going to take care of that house. More likely than not, you're going to be a better neighbor than somebody that lives in a neighborhood where the houses are $100,000. It's just a fact of life. So it's not a bad thing that the prices of homes have gone up in the Alabama area. And another reason the prices of homes have gone up, we have so much good economic news coming out of Huntsville, the Redstone Arsenal, the FBI buildings, all the technology that's being built up in Huntsville. They are building like 7,000 new homes over the next year up in Huntsville. They can't keep up with the demand. So that's good for the state of Alabama. And let me tell you something else that you're not going to hear anywhere else but here. Do you know why the price of homes went up so much after COVID? Do you want to know why? Joe Biden. Joe Biden let 12 million people walk over the border. And when he did that, they had to put 12 million people somewhere. And if you'll remember, they put them in New York. They were putting them in hotels. They were moving them here. They were even moving them there. They were moving them everywhere. All these people flooded into the country. It raised the price of rents. It raised the price of mortgages. It raised the price of homes. So Joe Biden had a direct effect on the cost of homes going up really fast in America. I don't know that we're ever going to get back to a 4% mortgage rate due to the economy we're in. But it's because we printed so much money during COVID, and now we're paying so much interest on the debt is why the bond market is so high when you buy a mortgage. So it's just a fact of life that after COVID, we did this to ourselves. Not only COVID, I want to back up just a minute. Do you know over the last roughly 26 years, Bill Clinton, when he left the White House, we were essentially debt-free. When George Bush took the White House, we had a surplus. 9/11 happened. We immediately went into serious debt because we had the war on terror. We were spending every dime we had on the military to fight in Afghanistan, out of Iraq. And then we had all these hurricanes, Hurricane Katrina and Hurricane, was it Katrina and Irene? I can't remember. Anyway, we had all these hurricanes that hit New Orleans. And then we had to build these barriers for New Orleans. Well, the government, we just picked up the tab for all this and added it to the national debt. And we've done this for so long that eventually it caught up with us. And it's just spiraled out of control. And then we had the 2008 housing crisis. Honest to goodness, the mortgage industry collapsed. Nobody thought it could happen. They were letting people buy homes called ninja loans, no income, no job verification. If you want a house, everybody needs a house. We'll let you have a house. They were doing these subprime loans. Nobody was checking income. People were buying homes and they couldn't pay for them. People were doing interest-only loans. They were paying interest just to buy a house. People were doing investment properties. It was crazy. And so that's how we had the movie that came out of the 2008 housing crisis called The Big Short, where they bet against the housing industry. And then comes Obama. And Obama walks in and Bush says, hey, you just inherited a nightmare. The housing market's gone. The big banks are gone off Wall Street. We're in a mess. It's yours. I'm gone. I'm buying. So we had cash for clunkers. Obama took over some of the automobile factories. They said, we got to retool the factories because we got to keep up with the foreign car makers. So literally they were giving you cash for clunkers. If you'll go turn in your car and buy a new one, we'll give you some money to go towards buying a new car. It was just incentivizing people to keep the economy going. That's what it was. So we've had 9/11, we've had the hurricanes, we had the housing crisis, we had the bond crisis of Wall Street, where we bailed out Wall Street. And then we had the wars that lasted forever. And then we had COVID. And COVID is what killed America, because we did these things called PPP loans, where everybody's sitting at home, everybody needs income. We're going to just give you the money. You tell us what it needs to run you, and we're just going to give it to you. And all we did was just run down to the Treasury, and we printed all these dollars, and we took interest rates, honest to goodness, to zero for like 2.5 and 3 years. My bank called me after COVID started. They said, Joe, interest rates are zero. We want to send you $100,000. I said, I really don't want it. Well, it's free money. Just take it. There's zero interest on $100,000. Just take the money. And so all of these things has led to where we are in the housing market and the interest rates. I don't know that we ever get back to where we were. We're going to have to make some hard decisions about the budget. We're going to have to make some hard decisions about our deficit. Everybody this time of year, October is what they call the fiscal year for businesses, where they say, hey, we got to redo our budgets. For the federal government, this is where they say, go spend all your money because you need to ask for more money next year. What we need to be doing is telling people to say, hey, I need you to take a 10% haircut across the board for every budget. Sorry, we do. Every budget needs to take a 10% haircut. Okay, so before I get out of here, final thought for the week. Discipline will cost you sleep. Discipline will cost you comfort. Discipline will cost you your ego. Discipline will cost you distractions. Discipline will cost you late night outs. But in return, it gives you everything you ever truly wanted. That's what discipline gives you. Do not give in if you don't see the fruits of your labor right now. Take the long-term approach. You'll be better off in the end. It's been a great week. I've enjoyed being back with you. We got great guests coming up in the next couple of weeks. Stay out there. Stay positive. Enjoy the summer. I think they're going to pass it finally. We're going to do away with the what's it called? Time change law. Thank you, John. Daylight savings. John's standing over there thinking, Joe, you're so stupid. Daylight savings time. Yes, I think it may pass finally. If it does, I will be so happy. I'll be running around the streets. I hope daylight savings time passes this time. Stay out there. Have a good week. Stay positive. Work on yourself. Enjoy the summer. We've had so much rain in the last week. My yard's needed it. I wish I'd put the fertilizer out to enjoy the benefits of the rain. And I have a prediction that August is going to be really hot this year. I looked at the Farmer's Almanac. I think August is going to be really, really hot, and that's fine with me. The hotter, the better. I can handle the heat any day of the week. As always, thank you to our sponsors, Flat Fee Real Estate of Birmingham. If you need a realtor, Flat Fee Real Estate is the name to know in the Birmingham area. If you need a fence, Shelby Fence Company, shelbyfencecompany.com. Have a great week. Got to go. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Legal Lowdown with your lawyer, Joe Ingram of Joe Ingram Law. Don't forget to follow Joe's Legal Lowdown podcast on iHeart. If you need a private legal consultation, reach out to Joe on his website, joeingramlaw.com. Tune in again next Saturday for the Legal Lowdown with Joe Ingram. No representation is made that the quality of legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by any other lawyer.